Hey Guardians, so I've been playing around with the new build crafting system this week on the Warlock, and I've come up with a newly updated Void build that just dominates everything. Now similar to last season, this build will sort of achieve the same thing, but I wanted to give this build a fresh update that's optimised nicely for this season and works with the new build crafting changes that we had with Lightfall. And with the addition of the new artifact perks we have from this season's artifact, it will make this build even more lethal than it's ever been before. So we're going to get infinite grenades, infinite volatile rounds, as well as infinite Devour, which will mean that we'll always get max health on every single kill, and the uptime with that Devour is pretty consistent, so it makes this worth using in endgame content, where it's going to take you a little bit more time to kill those tougher enemies. But on top of this, we'll also have faster supers. Now unlike last season, we had the infinite grenades with Contraverse Hold, and then we'll top off the rest of that energy with Devour. We're going to achieve the same thing with this build, but it's going to be even more consistent than it's ever been, because using some of the reworked mods from Lightfall, we'll be able to constantly get our grenade back quickly, even if you mess up occasionally by having a terrible throw or you wasted all your abilities somehow. So guys, if you like this one, then a rating is much appreciated, and be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up to date with some of the best and latest builds out. But now without further delay, let's become a Void God. Roll the intro. Now firstly, before we start, I am going to quickly mention that if you do like this one and you want to see more top builds like this for Season of Defiance, then be sure to check out my new Season 20 build playlist, which is linked down below, where you'll be able to find all of those builds during Lightfall this season, because you might just find your new best build in there. And we do have quite a lot of insane builds in there, especially the new Solar Fusion build, which is just purely broken. But with this build today, we're just going to be able to melt everything with our Void grenades and Void weapons, because using a combination of Devour and volatile rounds, we'll be able to constantly get our grenade back as an extra source of DPS and endgame content, which is great to use against champions and bosses, but also as a form of fast ad clearing to just make everything explode and wipe out everything with our volatile weapons on top, which is just crazy. Now I wouldn't say this build is broken, but I'd say it's pretty balanced, but still one of the top builds for the Warlock right now, and it's something I use a lot, and actually something I used a lot last season when I was doing GMs, because the grenade just kills everything. And because we'll have the Contraverse Hold Exotic, this will improve our charging for Void grenades. It kind of feels a little slower charging grenades than it did last season. I don't know if it's just me, but it sure feels like it. But looking through the patch notes, there wasn't anything that stated any changes, so I'm assuming it's just me and I just need to get good. But just going back to that exotic real quick, so you will be able to resist incoming damage while charging your Void grenades, and charged Void grenades will return energy on hit. Now charging is going to be a 20% damage resistance buff, and the grenade hit will trigger the exotic perk, which will grant us a 2000% grenade recharge rate for just short of 2 seconds. Usually this would get you around just over half of that grenade energy straight back, so all you gotta do is hit something with that grenade, and because it has a 4-second cooldown, if your grenade explosions are hitting ads after that 4-second timer is up, that will then trigger it again and you'll get the grenade back instantly. Now I tend to go with 100 discipline with this build so that our grenade just generally recharges quicker, which is good when you don't have Devour active, or you don't have a grenade, because you'll want to get that grenade back as quick as possible for those times when you don't have it. Like this situation here in this Master Lost sector. We are using the Vortex grenade. These did get nerfed a while back I believe, but they are still pretty good in high level content. Now you might think that it's pretty pointless running anything that's going to get our grenade back quicker, like the exotic and 100 discipline, but actually it helps you get those unlimited grenades with a much higher uptime of being able to just constantly throw them one after another. Whereas without this build in place, you simply won't be able to do that. You'll have to at minimum rely on getting around 5 or so kills while using Devour to give you that grenade back. Whereas you don't have to get any kills to get it back in most cases when using this build in endgame content, as long as you just let the grenade casually damage enemies rather than instantly killing them. But it all depends on the situation you're in and the type of content you're going into. So just a quick example of how this build works in easier content. You'll first run in and get a kill with your Void ability to activate Devour. From here you'll just run around killing everything with your weapons and using your grenade every time you have one ready. Killing ads will give you grenade energy and restore you to max health, which is a lifesaver most of the time. Now if you're going into master content whilst massively underpowered like this Master Lost sector here, you'll do pretty much the same thing, just get a kill with your grenade. It'll take a little bit longer, but bear in mind I am 20 under the recommended power level. But once you've done that, just rinse and repeat exactly like the first example. But because you're going into endgame content, you'll have to play it a lot safer and probably a little bit slower, because you might be a Void God, but you can still die quickly especially in this type of content, with the difficulty being as high as it is. But the build works exactly the same way in all types of activities. Just charge, throw grenades, kill stuff, and then repeat. Now, I tend to use void weapons if it suits the activity well, because with this season's artifact we have volatile flow, which just boosts that ad clearing even more. And it makes sense, right, because we're a void build, so it flows along nicely with this build. Now, how we'll get volatile rounds is by picking up orbs, which we'll do by using a Cypher mod in the helmet and then getting multi-kills with our void weapons. But at the same time, we'll also be generating those orbs using a firepower mod in the arms, which will get us orbs on grenade final blows. And since we're a grenade build with infinite grenades, it's literally just gonna rain orbs of power. But what makes this build even better is the 2 Ashes assets in the helmet, which is gonna give us our super insanely fast too. Now, I'm not gonna go too in depth with the mods right now, but I will go over the subclass to show you what I'm using. So we have the Warlock's Voidwalker subclass with the Nova-Bomb super, or the Slowva-Bomb. Then I have a healing rift for more survivability in end game content, along with a vortex grenade. Now the aspects, I'm using chaos accelerant so that the vortex grenades increase in size and duration, and then feed the void so that we can get Devour on void ability final blows. And while Devour is active, any kills will extend it and give us instant max health, which is just OP. And on top of that, we'll get grenade energy too, which is why the exotic isn't required for this build if you just want to rely on Devour, but I wouldn't just rely on that when going into endgame content, so I'd stick with using the exotic to guarantee you that you have that grenade with a higher uptime. Now, fragments I'm using are Echo of Explosion so that void ability final blows cause the target to explode, and I believe that those explosions can activate our exotic perk, meaning we'll get more grenade energy, which is why sometimes you see the first recharge boost, then it stops and then you see it again, without having to throw another grenade. That's why. But the second fragment is Echo of Remnant so that those grenades last even longer, which is what we want since we are a grenade build. And then lastly, Echo of Reprisal so that we can get even more super energy. And all of these combined with the mods just makes this build insane. But in the artifact, I do have the Shattered Orbs perk. This is going to give us more orbs when we break matching shields, which by the way, in things like the Battlegrounds, this can get your super pretty much within about 5 seconds. It's not even funny. But on top of this, we have the Bricks from Beyond, so that defeating the other bars has a chance to give us heavy ammo when we use a void weapon. And not only that, the void weapon channeling will also increase our DPS when we have fully charged void abilities, so you can see how everything just flows well together to make this build extremely effective and efficient. So in the arms armor, I'm using the grenade kickstart mod, 2 of them, because this now works with charged grenades unlike last season. So having 2 of these with 4 armor charge stacks will give us half of that grenade energy straight back when we use it, so that we can remain consistent with those grenades in endgame content. Now it's not needed, but it does help a lot, I've noticed, especially when you're up against really tough ads in master content where your grenade might not get the final blow. Now on top of this, I'm using the charged up as well as the stacks on stacks, which will mean that we can get 4 armor charge stacks from 2 orbs of power. And then I also have 2 grenade cooldown mods in the legs, and then I have 3 distribution mods in the class, mostly to help us get our rift back quicker, but you could change these up if you want to. Now moving to the stats, stat focus, I would go with resilience and discipline to 100 so that you can get your grenade back quicker and have the most damage resistance as well. This here is my artifact setup as always if you want to directly copy it, and then this here is the mod screen, but there will be a dim link below if you want to just copy it from that too. Now remember that volatile rounds can stun barriers, but it can be pretty inconsistent sometimes, so I'd recommend running an Arbalist to deal with them, which everyone can get now, but just visit the vendor on the Cosmodrome. And then of course run a void weapon like Funnel Web so that you can make the most out of those volatile rounds. But overall, a really good build for the Warlock this season if you plan on using a void subclass during Lightfall Season of Defiance. But guys, if you did enjoy this build and you want to see other top builds, then remember to check out the juicy playlist down below and I'll keep you posted. But for now guys, give this one a try, and I'll see you guys very soon for the next build video.